Welcome back to Secrets Exposed. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. You're the reason these stories worth sharing. Tell us where you're watching from, city or country. We're amazed by how far these tales reach. To get daily new and amazing stories for you, subscribe our channel and press bell icon. All right, let's begin. The clock on a nightstand glowed 12:47 a.m. Marcus Kane had been drifting in uneasy sleep, a bottle of bourbon still half full on the table beside him. Retirement hadn't brought peace, only ghosts. Every night, his mind replayed missions he couldn't forget, faces he couldn't erase. But tonight, the silence shattered. The burner phone on his desk buzzed violently, its screen lighting up the dark room. Marcus's instincts kicked in instantly. A call at this hour wasn't an accident. His hand trembled slightly as he grabbed it. Hello. His voice was sharp, controlled, though deep down, fear coiled in his chest. On the other end, through static and coughing, came the fragile voice of his 19-year-old daughter. Dad. Emily's voice cracked, trembling. I can't breathe. I'm trapped. Marcus shot upright, every muscle tense. Emily? Where are you? His voice shook despite years of training. Her words tumbled out between coughs. Motel. Willow Creek Inn. Fire everywhere. I can't get out. Dad, please. The sound of wood splintering, flames roaring, and her terrified sobs spilled into his ear. Marcus's stomach dropped as he pictured her choking on smoke, surrounded by fire. I'm coming, Emily. Hold on. He grabbed his keys, his mind already mapping the fastest route. His boots thudded against the wooden floor as he sprinted out. But before he could say more, Emily's voice cracked with something even worse than fear. A whisper that pierced his heart. Dad, it was your commander. He wants your secrets. The line went dead. For a second, Marcus froze in the doorway, the phone still pressed to his ear, though only silence remained. His breath caught. His commander? The name surfaced in his mind like poison. Colonel Briggs. The man who had once been more than a superior. A mentor. A father figure. The man who had given him his codename, Hellfire, back when Marcus was nothing but raw talent and anger. The man who had taught him that fire could be a weapon, a shield, and a warning all at once. And now, Emily said he had done this. Marcus's pulse thundered. He rushed down the stairwell of his apartment building, his body moving on pure instinct. The night air outside was icy, yet sweat slicked his palms. His old black Dodge roared to life as he slammed into the driver's seat. Willow Creek Inn. 20 minutes away if he drove like a civilian. 15 if he drove like the man he used to be. He pressed harder on the gas, the city lights blurring as he sped through red signals. His jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. In his mind, memories of Briggs collided with images of Emily. Her smile, her laugh, her innocence. Why target her? Why drag her into the darkness Marcus had spent years keeping from her? One answer seared through him. Leverage. The Phoenix Protocol. The classified CIA file that only Marcus had access to. A file full of buried operations, rogue agents, and offshore accounts worth millions. Briggs had wanted it for years, and Marcus had refused him. Now, Briggs had found Marcus's only weakness, Emily. As the Dodge tore across the empty highway, Marcus gripped the wheel harder, his knuckles pale. Flames reflected faintly on the horizon, glowing against the night sky. The motel was already burning. Every second mattered. His daughter was inside. His past had finally come for him. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt his codename stir inside him like a curse. Hellfire. The fire was calling him back. The horizon glowed brighter with every passing mile. Smoke climbed into the night sky, carried on the cold wind like a signal flare sent just for him. Marcus Kane tightened his grip on the steering wheel, his jaw locked. The Dodge's engine roared, pushing past 90, weaving recklessly between lanes on the near-empty highway. Every second hammered against him. Each one a second Emily spent choking on smoke, begging for help. He forced himself not to imagine her face, pale and terrified, lit by flames. He needed clarity, not panic. Panic killed men faster than bullets. But his mind betrayed him. Emily's trembling words replayed over and over. It was your commander. He wants your secrets. Colonel David Briggs. The name scraped against Marcus's conscience like broken glass. Images surged unbidden. Briggs in his pressed uniform, barking orders with that gravel voice. Briggs smiling at Emily at a barbecue years ago, telling Marcus she'll change the world one day. Briggs's voice echoing in war zones. Kane, you burn them before they burn us. That's why we call you Hellfire. Marcus's throat tightened. He had trusted the man like family. And now Briggs had set his daughter in flames. The Dodge screeched off the highway onto a narrower road lined with pines. The deeper he drove, the thicker the smoke became, acrid and stinging. His headlights finally caught the outline of the Willow Creek Inn. What was once a rundown roadside motel was now an inferno. Flames clawed out of shattered windows, curling up into the night. Fire engines surrounded the lot, sirens wailing, red lights spinning across the asphalt. Firefighters shouted orders, dragging hoses, their faces slick with sweat and soot. Marcus parked on the shoulder, his eyes darting. The chaos in front of him wasn't random. He knew fire. He knew destruction. This wasn't natural spread. The flames moved too fast, too wide, as though carefully designed. Accelerants. Charges. Someone had engineered this blaze. And then, out of the corner of his eye, Marcus saw it. A black SUV parked farther back, half hidden in the tree line, away from the fire trucks. Military grade. Windows tinted darker than regulation. Inside, a silhouette sat perfectly still. Watching. Marcus's stomach twisted. Not just an observer. A handler. One of Briggs's men. He ducked behind his Dodge, keeping to shadows, his eyes never leaving that SUV. His instinct screamed that Briggs was near. Watching him scramble. Watching him suffer. A firefighter rushed past Marcus, yelling, "Rooms are collapsing. No way anyone survives if they're still inside." Marcus's pulse spiked. Emily was inside. His daughter, trapped, coughing, begging. He couldn't wait. He couldn't ask permission. He glanced again at the SUV, then at the motel. Two fronts of war. One fire, one shadow. But Emily's voice echoed louder than Briggs's silence. Marcus moved fast, slipping into the chaos. He grabbed a discarded fireproof jacket off the back of a truck, threw it on, and pushed past the perimeter tape. A firefighter shouted, "Sir, you can't go in," but Marcus's glare alone cut him off. The heat slammed into him as he neared the entrance, blistering, alive. Smoke curled into his lungs, rough and acrid, but Marcus forced himself forward. Each step brought him deeper into the storm. He had been trained to fight in deserts, jungles, and war zones. But this fire, it was something else. It was Briggs's battlefield now. And Briggs had chosen Marcus's daughter as his weapon. Marcus paused in the lobby, the world flickering orange and black. His pulse pounded. Somewhere upstairs, Emily was waiting. Somewhere outside, Briggs was watching. For the first time in years, Marcus felt the old rage stir, the one Briggs had once cultivated. The codename whispered back to life in his chest. Hellfire, the man who burns before being burned. And tonight, he would walk through fire itself to take back what Briggs had stolen. The motel's front lobby was collapsing in pieces, every beam groaning as fire consumed it. Marcus Kane moved low, his body pressed close to the floor where the air was thinner. Heat clawed at his skin even through the borrowed fire jacket, but the smoke burned his throat raw with every breath. His eyes watered, yet he forced them open, searching, scanning, refusing to blink. The sound of glass shattering somewhere upstairs ripped through the roar of flames. A scream followed, faint but human. Emily. Marcus's chest tightened as he darted toward the staircase. Half the steps had already caved in, but he climbed anyway, boots slamming down on blackened wood that threatened to give way beneath him. With each step, the fire licked closer, curling its fingers around his legs. On the landing, the hallway stretched into chaos. Doors swung open, some fully swallowed by fire, others still intact, but filling with smoke. Marcus called out, his voice booming over the flames. Emily. The echo was swallowed by crackling timber, until a weak, coughing reply came from the far end. Dad! Marcus surged forward. The corridor groaned, ceiling tiles crashing down, sparks flying. His pulse thundered in his ears as he reached the last door on the left. Room 214. The knob glowed red-hot, metal warped. Without hesitation, Marcus threw his shoulder into it. The door burst inward with a wave of choking smoke and unbearable heat. And there she was. Emily sat tied to a chair in the center of the room, her wrists bound tight with duct tape. Her hair clung damp to her face, streaked with soot. Tears carved pale lines down her ash-darkened cheeks. Her chest heaved as she coughed violently, eyes wide with terror. "Dad!" she cried again, her voice breaking. Marcus's heart clenched. For a second, the rest of the world blurred. There was only his daughter, the little girl he had once taught to ride a bike, now shackled in hell. "I've got you," Marcus growled, striding through the flames. He tore his combat knife from his belt and sliced through the tape around her wrists, pulling her into his arms. She collapsed against him, trembling, coughing into his shoulder. For a brief, fragile moment, relief washed over him. He had found her. She was alive. But something gnawed at the edges of that relief. Something wrong. As Marcus shifted her weight to carry her, he felt resistance. Emily stiffened, her trembling hands clutching the front of his jacket, almost as though she didn't want him to move her. Her voice cracked in his ear, raw and afraid, but not just to the fire. "Dad, you don't understand. He told me the truth. He said you betrayed us." Marcus froze. The flames roared louder, eating away at the ceiling, but her words burned hotter. "What are you talking about?" His voice was sharp, desperate. Emily's tear-filled eyes met his, filled with something he had never seen before, doubt. "Commander Briggs, he said you've been hiding secrets. That you're the reason so many people died. That you kept files, proof, and you never told anyone." Marcus's chest hollowed out. Even here, in the middle of this nightmare, Briggs's poison was alive in her. "Emily, no," he tried, but her voice broke over his. "He said this fire would expose you. He said you can't run from it anymore." Marcus's grip on her tightened, his heart hammering. The heat was unbearable now, beams above them cracking, the room seconds from collapse. But the fire inside Marcus wasn't just from the flames anymore. Briggs hadn't just set a trap. He had turned Emily against him. Marcus swallowed hard, forcing steel into his voice. "Listen to me. Briggs lies. He always lies. I will explain everything, but right now, we have to get you out of here." Emily hesitated, her body rigid with confusion. Tears streamed down her face as another coughing fit racked her. Marcus lifted her fully into his arms, holding her close. He barreled back toward the hall as fire devoured the room behind them, his boots pounding the weakened floor. But her words echoed, sharper than the roar of fire. "He said you betrayed us." And Marcus realized saving her body might not be enough. Briggs had already set her mind ablaze. Marcus Kane's boots thundered down the burning hallway. Emily clutched tightly in his arms. The ceiling cracked overhead, with snapping as fire chewed through the structure like a living predator. Each second felt stolen, borrowed against the collapse that could bury them both. Emily coughed violently into his chest, her voice weak. "Dad, I don't understand. He said you'd never come, that you'd save yourself before me." Marcus's jaw clenched. He wanted to scream that Briggs was lying, that he had always chosen her over everything. The agency, his career, his safety. But there was no time for explanations in a corridor dripping with flame. The stairwell loomed ahead, half collapsed, glowing with embers. Marcus tightened his grip on Emily and descended, each step threatening to crumble under his weight. His mind raced faster than his feet. Why would Briggs plant these ideas in her head? Why tell her Marcus was a traitor? The answer cut like ice, because Briggs wasn't after her body. He was after her belief, her trust. At the bottom of the stairs, Marcus burst into the lobby. The smoke was so dense it felt like running through a black fog. Firefighters shouted in the distance, their voices muffled. Marcus pressed forward, his eyes fixed on the broken window ahead. Freedom glowed faintly through it, the cool night beyond. But then something shifted. Emily's body tensed against him. Not from a smoke, not from fear, from hesitation. Marcus felt it. The strange rigidity of her posture, the way she pressed her arms close to her chest, as if protecting something. Instinct screamed at him. He paused just shy of the window, setting Emily down carefully against the scorch wall. She looked up at him, wide-eyed, her face streaked with ash and tears. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling. Marcus's hands hovered near her jacket, his eyes narrowing. He pulled it open, and his stomach dropped. Strapped tightly across her torso were blocks of C4, wired with military precision. A dead man's switch nestled in her trembling hand. For a heartbeat, Marcus couldn't breathe. His daughter, tied to explosives. The fire wasn't the real trap. This was. Emily's lip quivered. He said, this was the only way. That if he tried to run, it would end here. That you had to give him the codes, Dad. Marcus's vision blurred with fury and disbelief. Briggs hadn't just used Emily as bait. He had turned her into the weapon itself. "Emily, listen to me," Marcus said, voice low, urgent. "This isn't your fault. Briggs made you believe his lies. But you're not the one holding control. He is. That switch doesn't protect you. It controls you." Tears spilled down her face as she shook her head. "No," he said, "it proves I can trust him. He said you'd let me die if it meant keeping your secrets." Marcus felt his heart tearing apart. The motel around them groaned, flames devouring the walls, but none of it compared to the fire in his chest. His own daughter thought he would sacrifice her. He crouched lower, looking her dead in the eyes. His voice cracked, but his words cut with steel. "Emily, I carried you the day you were born. I carried you when you scraped your knees, when you cried at night. And I will carry you out of here, even if the world burns around us. That's the truth. That's who I am." Emily's hands shook violently on the detonator. She wanted to believe him. Marcus saw it. The flicker of doubt about Briggs, the crack in the wall Briggs had built inside her mind. But before Marcus could press further, movement outside the shattered window caught his eye. The black SUV. Doors opening. Men stepping out. And then, unmistakable, Colonel Briggs himself, standing tall in the red glow of the fire, his face calm, his eyes fixed on Marcus. Briggs lifted a megaphone, his voice booming through the crackling night. "Marcus, step away from her. We both know you can't save her without me. Hand over the codes, and maybe she walks out alive." Emily flinched at the sound of Briggs's voice. Hope flickered in her eyes. Hope for him, not her father. Marcus's stomach twisted. Briggs wasn't just outside. He was inside her head. And for the first time, Marcus realized this battle wasn't only about fire or bombs. It was about who Emily believed. The lobby shook as a burning beam crashed behind Marcus, sparks exploding into the air. He didn't flinch. His eyes were locked on the silhouette outside the shattered window. Colonel David Briggs, standing like a general at war, bathed in the glow of the flames. The megaphone's static crackled, and Briggs's gravel voice cut through the chaos. "Marcus Kane, you're predictable. I knew you'd come charging in. Hellfire never abandons the battlefield." Emily's head jerked toward the voice, her wide eyes lighting up with something Marcus recognized with dread: trust. She believed Briggs was her savior, even as the motel crumbled around her. Briggs continued, his tone calm, commanding. "Step away from her. You've hidden secrets for too long. The Phoenix Protocol doesn't belong to you. Hand me the access codes, and I'll make sure your daughter walks out of this alive." Marcus crouched in front of Emily, blocking her line of sight to Briggs. His voice was low, urgent. "Emily, look at me. You think he wants to save you? He's the one who strapped you with explosives. He put you in this fire." Her tear-streaked face twisted, caught between fear and loyalty. "He told me you'd never save me, that you protect your secrets first." "Dad, I don't know what to believe anymore." The words cut deeper than a fire ever could. Marcus's chest tightened. Briggs had poisoned her so thoroughly that truth and lies were indistinguishable in her mind. Outside, Briggs raised his voice, every syllable dripping with confidence. "Emily, it's me. Remember what I promised? You'd never have to live in your father's shadow. He's been lying to you for years. But I'll give you freedom." Emily's trembling hands tightened around the detonator. Her lip quivered. "Dad, he said you let people die, that you betrayed your own team. Is it true?" Marcus's jaw clenched. He had no time for half-truths. Not here. Not now. I made choices in the field. Hard choices. But I never betray my team. And I would never betray you. Briggs twists everything to get what he wants. Don't let him twist you. For a flicker of a second, Emily's eyes softened. The walls of Briggs's manipulation trembled. But Briggs saw it too, and he struck harder. Hellfire. Briggs barked through the megaphone, his voice like a whip. Tell her about Operation Ashfall. Tell her how you watched an entire village burn because you refused to share intel. Tell her the fire runs in your blood. Emily's gasp was sharp, her body jerking back. Dad, is that true? Marcus's stomach churned. He remembered Ashfall, a black op Briggs himself had ordered, one Marcus had been forced to carry out. But the story Briggs told wasn't the truth. He was rewriting history, making Marcus the villain. Emily, listen to me, Marcus said, voice breaking. Briggs gave the order that day. He made me fire the first shot. He wants you to believe I'm the monster, but the real monster is standing outside. The flames groaned around them, the building trembling on its foundation. Emily's tears mixed with ash on her cheeks, her faith shattering between two men, her father and her commander. Briggs lowered the megaphone, stepping closer to the broken window. The firelight carved hard shadows across his scarred face. His eyes were cold, but his smirk was sharp. You can't win this, Marcus. She already doubts you. All I have to do is wait. Fire does the rest. Marcus rose slowly, his body shielding Emily. His voice dropped to a low growl, not for Briggs, but for her. He thinks fire destroys. But you know what fire really does, Emily? It reveals. And when this blaze dies, you'll see him for what he truly is. Emily looked between the two men, the father who had always protected her, and the commander who promised salvation. Her hand shook violently on the detonator, sweat dripping down her brow. The building groaned again. Time was running out. Marcus's eyes locked on Briggs, fury simmering beneath the surface. The man who had once mentored him was now the one tearing his family apart. And Marcus knew, if Emily chose wrong, Briggs wouldn't hesitate to pull the trigger himself. The war wasn't just outside in the flames. The war was in Emily's heart. The flames roared louder, devouring the motel's roof beam by beam. The air was thick with smoke, every breath scraping Marcus Kane's lungs raw. He crouched in front of Emily, shielding her trembling body from falling debris, his eyes locked on the man outside the shattered window. Colonel David Briggs stepped closer, the firelight painting his face in sharp relief. Calm, composed, confident. He had all the time in the world, because the fire itself was his weapon. Through the megaphone, his gravel voice filled the burning lobby. Marcus, you got two options. Hand me the Phoenix codes now, and I disarm the girl. Refuse, and you watch your daughter turn to ash in your arms. Emily flinched at his words, her tear-filled eyes darting to Marcus. She clutched the detonator harder, her knuckles white. The C4 strapped to her chest glistened in the flickering orange light. Marcus's jaw tightened. You think I'll play this game, Briggs? You're sick. You strapped explosives to a child, my child. Briggs chuckled, low and cruel. You trained me well enough to know it's not about the bomb, Marcus. It's about control. She already trusts me more than you. All I need is the codes, and you'll hand them over. Because for once in your life, Hellfire can't burn his way out. Emily's chest heaved, torn between the two voices. Her father's rage, Briggs's calm authority. Dad, she whispered, her voice breaking. If giving in the codes saves me, why won't you just do it? Marcus's heart twisted. He looked at her, his little girl who used to run into his arms after school, who once believed he could fix anything. And now, she thought his refusal was proof of betrayal. He pressed his hand gently against her cheek, his voice low but fierce. Because the moment I give him those codes, you won't be saved. You'll be gone. Do you understand? Briggs doesn't want to save you. He wants to erase me. And you're his weapon. Her lip trembled. She wanted to believe him. Marcus could see it in her eyes. But the poison Briggs had fed her was still there, coiled tight around her mind. Briggs, sensing the hesitation, drove the knife deeper. Emily, he's lying. The codes don't matter to him because they only protect him. How many people did he let die to keep them hidden? Do you want to die protecting his secrets? Emily sobbed, her hands shaking violently on the detonator. The building groaned above them, dust and ash raining down. Marcus stood slowly, his eyes never leaving Briggs. His voice carried through the fire. You talk about secrets, Briggs, but you're the one rewriting history. You gave the orders. You pulled the strings. You lit every match, and now you want to blame me for the blaze. Briggs sneered, stepping even closer to the window. And yet, here we are. Your daughter strapped with my C4, your back against the wall. The truth doesn't matter, Marcus. Perception does. And right now, she sees me as the man holding her life. Not you. Emily's sobs broke into a scream. Stop it. Both of you stop. She pressed the switch tighter against her chest, her entire body trembling. I can't choose. If I believe him, Dad, then you're a liar. If I believe you, then I've been helping a monster. I don't know who to trust anymore. Marcus's chest ached, the firelight glinting off the sweat on his face. He crouched again, his voice trembling but resolute. Then don't trust either of us. Trust what you see. Who carried you out of that room? Who came into the fire for you? Who's here, right now, ready to burn with you if it means saving you? Emily's eyes widened, her breath catching. For a second, the world shrank to just them, father and daughter, the fire, and the lies tearing them apart. Briggs's smirk faltered. He could see it, the threat of control slipping. He raised his hand sharply, signaling his men near the SUV. 2 rifles gleamed in the night, aimed directly at Marcus through the window. The fire hissed louder, the floor beneath Marcus cracking. He had seconds. Marcus locked eyes with Emily, his voice a whisper meant only for her. This ends tonight, but you decide how. Emily's tears fell like rain, dripping onto the ash-covered floor. Her trembling finger hovered over the switch. Outside, Briggs barked the order. Do it. The order hung in the air like a gunshot. Do it, Colonel Briggs barked, his voice cutting through the fire's roar. 2 rifles from the SUV snapped into position, red laser dots dancing across Marcus Kane's chest. The motel crackled around him, walls sagging, sparks raining down like fiery snow. Emily's hands shook so violently on the detonator that Marcus feared she might trigger it by accident. Tears streaked down her soot-stained face as her chest heaved. She was caught between 2 cages, one built of flames, the other of lies. Marcus raised his arms slowly, stepping in front of Emily, shielding her with his body. His voice was calm, deliberate, even as his pulse hammered like war drums. You want me, Briggs? Then take me. But you'll never take her. Briggs smirked in the firelight, lowering the megaphone. His scarred face twisted into something colder. Always the martyr, Kane. But martyrs don't change history. Power does. And when she pushes that switch, the only story that survives is mine. Emily whimpered, her eyes darting between the 2 men. The father who had carried her through fire and the commander who promised salvation. Dad, I can't. I don't know what's true anymore. Marcus turned to her, crouching low so she could see his eyes clearly through the haze. His voice dropped, raw and trembling. You don't have to know the whole truth tonight, Emily. You just need to remember one thing. Who walked into the flames for you? Who risked everything to hold you right now? That's your truth. That's me. Her lip quivered. The switch slipped in her sweaty palm, but she didn't let go. Briggs saw the crack widening and moved to slam it shut. He motioned to his men, their rifles tightening. Marcus, you've got 30 seconds. Codes or cinders. And if she hesitates, my men finish the job. The rifles inched closer to firing. Emily let out a sob. Dad, he's going to kill you. Marcus's hand tightened into a fist. His instinct screamed to strike first, to take down Briggs's men before they squeezed their triggers. But one wrong move could mean Emily's death. The floor beneath them groaned, with splitting. The fire was winning, every second shrinking the room. A flaming beam crashed down just feet away, the explosion of embers forcing Emily to bury her face in Marcus's chest. He held her tight, whispering in her hair, his voice breaking. I'm not leaving you. Not now. Not ever. Emily trembled, the weight of his words cutting through Briggs's venom. For the first time, she whispered back, "But what if he's right? What if you've lied?" Marcus pulled back just enough to meet her gaze, his own eyes glistening. "Then judge me by what I've done tonight, not by what he says. I'm here, Emily. He isn't. That's the only truth that matters." Outside, Briggs's smirk faltered. His grip on control was slipping, and he knew it. He raised the megaphone again, fury seeping into his voice. "Don't listen to him, Emily. He's hellfire. He burns everything he touches. You'll see at the moment you trust him. He'll destroy you too." Emily's sobs echoed through the crackling room. Her finger twitched on the detonator. Marcus's heart clenched. One mistake, one tremor, and everything would vanish in a blaze. Suddenly, a rifle cracked. A bullet tore through the window, shattering glass and splintering the wall inches from Marcus's head. Emily screamed, jerking backward, almost pressing the trigger. Marcus lunged, grabbing her wrist, steadying her hand. "No!" His voice was a roar, desperate and raw. "Don't let him control you like this. You're stronger than his lies." Her chest heaved, her eyes locked on his. For the first time, the fear in her gaze wasn't just of Briggs. It was of herself, of what she might do if she gave in. Briggs stepped forward, his face twisted in rage. "Enough games, Kane. I'll burn you both where you stand if you don't give me the codes." The fire shrieked, the roof above them splitting open. Marcus pulled Emily closer, his voice low but unshakable. "Then burn us. But you'll never break us." Emily's breath caught. For the first time, her grip on the switch loosened, just a fraction. But it was enough. Briggs's eyes narrowed. He had just realized something terrifying. Marcus wasn't afraid of fire. And if Emily chose her father, Briggs's whole plan would collapse in flame. The motel groaned like a dying beast, its walls splitting, flames pouring out of every seam. Marcus Kane held Emily close, her trembling hands still clutching the detonator, though her grip had loosened. His chest heaved with smoke, sweat dripping into his eyes. He couldn't let her slip. Not in a panic, not into Briggs's lies. But outside, Briggs saw the shift. He saw Emily falter, and that was enough to drive him forward. The SUV door slammed shut. Colonel David Briggs stepped out fully, brushing off the warnings of his armed men. He strode through the fiery glow with the calm precision of a man who believed he could not be touched. His uniform jacket, crisp even in the heat, reflected the flames, his metals glinting like mocking stars. Emily's breath hitched when she saw him. Hope, fragile, dangerous hope, flickered in her eyes. "He's coming," she whispered, almost to herself. Marcus felt it like a blade to the gut. Even now, with fire raining around them, she thought Briggs might be salvation. Briggs stopped just outside the shattered lobby window, raising his voice without the megaphone this time. His words carried with the authority that once commanded nations. "Emily, you're safe now. You've done well. Hold on a little longer, and I'll get you out of there." Her eyes widened, her tears catching light in the flames. You promised." "I never break my promises," Briggs cut in smoothly. "Unlike your father. He hides behind lies. I've given you the truth. And now, I'll give you freedom. But only if he hands me the codes." Marcus's fists clenched. The sight of Briggs, calm, manipulative, confident, ignited the fury boiling in his veins. He shouted over the fire, his voice raw. "Emily, don't you see? He didn't come in here. He didn't walk into the flames for you. He stayed outside, pulling your strings. He doesn't risk himself. He risks you." Briggs's smirk deepened, as though Marcus had fallen right into his trap. Slowly, deliberately, the colonel swung one leg over the broken window frame. And then, to Marcus's shock, Briggs stepped inside. The fire curled around him, heat distorting the air. His men shouted in protest from outside, but Briggs silenced them with a single raised hand. His boots crunched on broken glass as he advanced into the burning lobby. Emily gasped, her trembling body stiffening against Marcus. He came in. Marcus's throat tightened. He could see Briggs's strategy clearly now, erase the one distinction Marcus held, the one truth that proved who really loved her. Briggs had crossed the threshold, not to save Emily, but to steal her completely. The colonel's voice lowered, intimate, persuasive, as if the flames themselves bent to carry his words. You see, Emily, I'm not afraid to stand with you. Not like him. He would have left you here if it meant protecting his precious file. But he extended a gloved hand toward her. I'll lead you out of the fire myself. Emily's lips parted, her breath catching. Her hand tightened again around the detonator. Marcus saw the shift. Briggs was pulling her back under. Marcus's heart thundered. He crouched to meet her eyes, his voice trembling but resolute. Look at him, Emily. He didn't come in for you. He came in for me. For what I carry. For what I know. If he cared about you, he would have untied you himself. But who cut you free? Who carried you through the flames already? Her eyes darted between them, tears blurring her vision. Briggs stood tall, steady, offering his hand. Marcus crouched low, smoke-stained, his hand gripping hers tight. The building groaned, a section of the roof collapsing behind them with a thunderous crash. Sparks exploded, choking smoke filling every corner. Time was vanishing. Briggs took another step closer, his voice sharp. Emily, decide. Do you want to live with the truth or die with his lies? Marcus's hand trembled as he pressed it to her cheek. His voice cracked but burned with certainty. You want truth? Then here it is. I'd rather die in this fire with you than hand you to him. Because you're my daughter. You're my only truth. Emily froze, her sobs choking her words. She looked between them, caught in the tug-of-war of fire and blood. Her finger hovered over the switch. Briggs's smirk sharpened. Now, Emily, choose. The motel screamed under the weight of its own destruction. Beams cracked like gunshots, windows exploded outward, and thick smoke churned through the air like a living beast. Every second dragged Marcus Kane, his daughter Emily, and Colonel David Briggs closer to death. Emily sat pressed against the scorched wall, the C4 strapped across her chest glinting in the firelight. Her eyes darted wildly between the two men. Her father, ash-stained and bleeding, and Briggs, tall and unflinching, his uniform somehow untouched by the chaos. The fire chewed closer. The floor beneath them sagged dangerously, threatening to give way. Briggs's voice cut through the roar of the inferno, calm and commanding. Marcus, the fire doesn't wait. Give me the codes. Now, or we all burn together. Marcus spat into the flames, his face twisted in defiance. You always wanted the world to kneel to you, Briggs. But I'll die before I let you use her to get it. Emily's trembling voice broke the tension, raw with desperation. Stop it. Both of you. Just stop. She clutched the detonator, her knuckles white. Her whole body shook, her mind splintering under the weight of two truths. Briggs crouched slightly, his gloved hand stretching toward her. His tone softened, insidious. Emily, listen to me. He can't save you. He never could. But I can. I gave you the truth when he fed you lies. One step toward me, and I'll take that bomb off you myself. Emily's lips trembled. The flicker of hope in her eyes stabbed Marcus like a knife. No! Marcus's voice cracked with urgency. He lunged forward, kneeling beside her. His hand pressed firmly over hers, steadying the switch before she could flinch. His eyes burned into hers, fierce and unyielding. Emily, look at me. I've already carried you out of one fire. I'll carry you out of this one. He doesn't want you free. He wants you broken. Her chest heaved, the tears cutting streaks down her soot-stained cheeks. I don't know who to believe. The roof groaned above them. A massive section gave way, crashing just feet from Briggs. The colonel barely blinked, his calm mask never cracking, though sweat beaded at his temple now. Believe this, Marcus said, voice raw with emotion. He waited outside while you screamed. I didn't. I went in for you. That's the difference. Emily's gaze flicked between them, Briggs's steady hand and Marcus's desperate grip. The fire reflected in her eyes, twin worlds colliding inside her. Briggs rose to his full height, his voice snapping like a whip. She doesn't need saving, Marcus. She needs the truth, and I've given it to her. She knows you let villages burn. She knows you hid the protocol. She knows you're nothing but a coward hiding behind fire. Emily flinched. Her hand twitched on the switch again. Marcus's breath caught, but he didn't let go of her. His voice lowered, softer now, breaking through the noise. Emily, I've done terrible things. I won't lie to you. But every sin I carry to keep you safe. That's the only truth I know. The room shuddered violently. A fireball rolled down the hallway as another gas line ruptured. The building was seconds from total collapse. Emily sobbed, burying her face in her hands, the switch caught between her fingers. Marcus pulled her against his chest, shielding her from falling debris. Briggs, standing firm, sneered at the sight. Pathetic. Even in the end, you choose weakness. Marcus's head snapped toward him, his eyes burning hotter than the flames. No, Briggs. I choose her. The roof buckled. A massive support beam fell between them, a wall of flame splitting Marcus and Emily from Briggs. Sparks exploded, smoke swallowing the colonel's figure. Through the haze, Briggs's voice thundered one last time. If she chooses you, Marcus, then you both die here. Emily's cries echoed as Marcus held her tighter, the motel collapsing around them. The inferno didn't just grip the building, it gripped their fate. The motel was no longer a building. It was a furnace. Walls buckled inward, the roof peeled open like paper, and the fire howled as if alive. Marcus Kane shielded Emily with his body, holding her tight against his chest as flaming debris rained down. On the other side of the fiery barrier, Colonel Briggs's shadow moved through the smoke, tall, unshaken, a phantom in the blaze. His voice thundered over the crackling inferno. Marcus, one last chance. Give me the codes, or you both die here. The fire will finish what I started. Emily clutched the detonator close to her chest, her eyes wide, tears streaking through soot. Her voice broke. Dad, we can't win. He's going to kill us. If giving him the codes ends this, then why not? Marcus's heart clenched. He pressed his forehead to hers, his voice hoarse but unwavering. Because the moment I give him those codes, Emily, he'll kill us anyway. He doesn't leave witnesses. You know that. The fire is just his curtain. His lies are the real weapon. Her lip quivered, torn between terror and the desperate hope Briggs dangled before her. Briggs's laughter boomed through the flames. She doesn't believe you, Marcus. She never truly did. You're a relic of a war no one remembers. Me? I'm the future. And she, his voice sharpened, she's mine. Something inside Marcus snapped. Years of buried rage, years of following Briggs's orders, of watching men die under his command, of carrying his lies, all of it erupted. Marcus rose to his full height, dragging Emily up with him. His eyes burned like the fire itself. His voice cut through the inferno. You forgot who you trained, Briggs. You forgot my name. Emily's tearful gaze lifted to him, confusion and fear tangled in her eyes. Marcus tightened his grip on her trembling hand, steadying the switch. They call me Hellfire, he growled. And when I burn, I take enemies with me. With one swift motion, Marcus pulled a flare from his jacket, the same flare he had carried since his days in the field. He struck it to life, the red blaze hissing angrily in his hand. Briggs's silhouette froze on the other side of the flames. For the first time, a flicker of unease crossed his voice. Marcus, don't be a fool. Marcus stared straight through the smoke, his voice a low roar. I already walked in a fire for her. What makes you think I won't light it myself to finish you? Emily gasped, her body trembling against him. Dad, what are you doing? Marcus's jaw tightened. His hand was steady, his heart pounding. Ending this. On my terms. The motel shook violently as another support collapsed. Firefighters shouted from outside, but their voices were distant, swallowed by the inferno. The world had shrunk to 3 souls. Marcus, Emily, and Briggs. Marcus lifted the flare high, his voice carrying like thunder. Briggs, you wanted the codes? Here's your code, Hellfire. And with that, he hurled the flare into the collapsing wall, where the C4 wiring ran deep into the motel's frame. The world exploded. A deafening blast ripped through the building, flames bursting outward in a tidal wave of heat. The shockwave hurled Marcus and Emily against the floor, glass and splinters raining down like shrapnel. Briggs's men screamed outside as the SUV flipped in the blast, metal twisting in the firestorm. Through the smoke and chaos, Marcus shielded Emily with his body, clutching her close as debris crashed around them. Her cries were muffled in his chest, but she clung to him, the detonator slipping uselessly from her hand. When the roaring flames settled into embers, silence pressed heavy over the ruins. Marcus coughed violently, blood streaking his lips. He shifted just enough to look at Emily. She stared up at him, eyes wide, breath trembling. "Dad, you blew it all up." He nodded weakly, his hand brushing her hair back. Because he forgot one thing, Emily. Fire doesn't just destroy. It reveals. A scream pierced through the wreckage. From the other side of the rubble, Briggs's voice echoed, no longer calm, no longer commanding, but ragged, furious, desperate. He wasn't dead. Not yet. Emily's grip tightened on Marcus's arm, fear rushing back into her eyes. The fire hadn't ended Briggs. It had only stripped away his mask, and Marcus knew the final confrontation was still ahead. Smoke curled upward from the ruins of the Willow Creek Inn, thick and black against the night sky. The motel was no longer standing. Only broken beams, smoldering rubble, and twisted metal remained. The blast had silenced the fire trucks and even the firefighters. They could only watch from a distance, unable to step into the furnace Marcus Kane had unleashed. Marcus lay half-buried under debris, his arms still locked around Emily. His body ached, ribs screaming with each breath, but he forced his eyes open. The world swam in flickers of firelight and drifting ash. Emily stirred beneath him, coughing weakly but alive. "Dad," she whispered, her voice hoarse. You protected me." Marcus's lips cracked into a faint smile. "Always." Then a sound cut through the crackle of embers. Heavy boots crunching across the debris. A voice, once commanding, now ragged with fury. "Marcus!" Colonel David Briggs emerged through the smoke, his uniform torn, one arm hanging limp at his side. His face was streaked with soot, but his eyes still burned with venom. Unlike his soldiers, who now lay scattered, broken by the blast, Briggs refused to fall. Emily tensed, pressing closer to her father. Marcus pushed himself upright, shielding her with his body as Briggs closed the distance. "You should be dead," Briggs hissed, his voice low and dangerous. "But you always were too stubborn to die when you were supposed to." Marcus staggered to his feet, pulling Emily up with him. His voice was raw but steady. "And you always were too cowardly to fight your own battles. Hiding behind orders. Behind lies. Behind her." Briggs's eyes flicked to Emily, then back to Marcus. A cruel smile twisted his lips. "She was never yours to keep. I showed her the truth. I gave her the world you denied her. And she came to me willingly." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "You lied to me," she whispered, her voice trembling but clear. "You made me believe he was the monster." Briggs crouched slightly, ignoring Marcus, speaking directly to her as if Marcus wasn't there. "No, Emily. I gave you strength. I gave you purpose. He only gave you chains. If you come to me now, I'll still take you away from him." Marcus's hand tightened around Emily's shoulder, his voice cutting like steel. "Don't listen. He's desperate. Look at him. All his power's gone. His men are gone. The only thing left for him to take is you, because he's nothing without control." For the first time, Briggs's mask cracked. His smirk faltered, his jaw tightening. Rage bubbled beneath the surface. "You think you've won because you lit a fire? You haven't won anything. The Phoenix Protocol will die with you, and the world will never know what you've done." Marcus stepped forward, squaring his shoulders despite his injuries. The firelight cast his scarred face in sharp relief. "The world doesn't need to know. She does. And she knows now." Emily looked between them, her tears glistening. For the first time, her gaze was steady. She clutched Marcus's hand, her voice trembling but strong. "I believe in Briggs. Not you." The colonel froze, disbelief flashing in his eyes. "What did you say?" "I said," Emily's voice rose, breaking through smoke and chaos, "I believe my father." The words hit Briggs like bullets. His fury exploded. With a roar, he lunged forward, pulling a knife from his belt, its blade catching the firelight. His good arm swung high, aiming for Marcus's throat. Marcus reacted on instinct, shoving Emily aside. The knife slashed across his shoulder, hot pain tearing through him, but he didn't falter. He gripped Briggs's wrist, forcing the blade back as the two men locked in brutal combat amid the ruins. Every ounce of rage, betrayal, and buried loyalty erupted between them. Mentor against protege, commander against soldier, traitor against father. The fire around them burned low now, not consuming, but illuminating. There would be no shadows left after this. Marcus gritted his teeth, forcing the blade inches away from his throat, his eyes locked on Briggs's. His voice was a growl, low and furious. "You forgot one thing, Colonel." Briggs snarled, pushing harder. "What's that?" Marcus's strength surged, driven by every scar and sacrifice. He twisted Briggs's arm, the knife now turning back toward its master. Hellfire doesn't take orders anymore. The knife trembled inches from Marcus Kane's throat, the firelight glinting off its steel. Colonel Briggs pressed down with all the force his broken body had left, his teeth bared in a snarl. Marcus gritted his teeth, every muscle straining as he forced the blade back inch by inch. Their eyes locked, one burning with rage, the other with unyielding defiance. Emily watched, frozen in terror. Her hands hovered uselessly at her chest, her breath sharp and panicked. But her father's voice cut through the chaos, steady even in the struggle. "Stay back, Emily. No matter what happens, stay back." Briggs growled, his voice dripping with venom. "She'll never forgive you, Marcus. Even if you kill me, the doubt I planted will burn her forever. You've already lost." Marcus's jaw clenched, blood dripping from his shoulder wound. "You're wrong. Because she saw the truth tonight, and the truth burns brighter than your lies." With a sudden surge of strength, Marcus twisted Briggs's wrist, the blade snapping free of his grip. The knife clattered to the floor, spinning across the rubble. Briggs staggered, fury boiling in his eyes. With a guttural roar, he lunged forward, tackling Marcus into the wreckage. The two men crashed through burning debris, fists flying, bones cracking. Years of history, loyalty, betrayal, trust, hatred erupted in every blow. Marcus's knuckles split against Briggs's jaw. Briggs's boot slammed into Marcus's ribs. Each strike was brutal, primal, fueled by decades of scars that words could never erase. Emily sobbed, her voice breaking. "Dad, stop, please." But Marcus couldn't stop. Neither could Briggs. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a reckoning. At last, Marcus gained the upper hand. He pinned Briggs against a collapsed beam, his forearm pressing into his old commander's throat. Briggs clawed at him, spitting blood, his eyes wide with a mix of rage and disbelief. "You were supposed to follow me," Briggs rasped. "You were supposed to be me." Marcus's eyes burned. "I was never supposed to be you. I was supposed to protect her." Emily's trembling voice whispered, "Dad." Those words fueled him. Marcus drove Briggs back harder, his voice rising in a roar that shook with years of buried fire. "You used me. You used her. But you forgot who I am. You forgot why they call me Hellfire." With one final surge, Marcus shoved Briggs into the burning debris. The colonel's body hit the beam, and in a flash, the fire ignited the remnants of fuel-soaked cloth. Briggs screamed, the flames consuming him, his silhouette writhing before collapsing into the blaze. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of fire and Emily's sobs. Marcus staggered back, chest heaving, his body trembling from exhaustion. Emily rushed to him, throwing her arms around his waist. He held her tight, burying his face in her hair, the weight of the night pressing down at last. "It's over," he whispered, though his voice cracked. "It's finally over." Emily shook her head, tears streaming. "No, it'll never be over. He made me doubt you. He made me almost." Her voice broke, unable to finish. Marcus cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. His own were wet but steady. "He lied, and you believed him because he was clever. But the only thing that matters is this. When you called me, I came. And I'll always come." Emily collapsed into his arms, clutching him as though she would never let go. Outside, firefighters finally broke through the perimeter, rushing toward the ruins. Shouts echoed as hoses sprayed the last of the flames. The nightmare was ending, though its scars would remain forever. Marcus helped Emily to her feet, guiding her carefully through the smoke. Every step forward was heavy, but necessary. The night air hit their faces as they emerged from the rubble, coughing but alive. Reporters and bystanders stared, cameras flashing, whispers spreading. Father and daughter, walking out of fire together. Emily leaned into him, her voice barely a whisper. "Dad, you saved me." Marcus's gaze lifted to the smoking ruins, the glow of embers lighting his face. His voice was low, almost himself. "No, we saved each other." The fire behind them crackled one last time before dying into silence. Hellfire had burned, and in the ashes, the truth finally stood revealed.